אמא השאילה בגדיה לביתה. 16. אמר רבי שמעון, על כן השמיים וצבאם.
Mother lends her clothes to her daughter. Rabbi Shimon said, hence the heaven and their host were created in Ma, the Malchut. For it is written, when I consider your heavens, the work of your fingers. Previously it was written, O Lord, our Lord, how Ma, great is your name in all the earth, who have deployed your splendor above the heavens. Thus the heavens were created in the name Ma, the Malchut. And the meaning of the words is above the heavens, which points to Bina, who is called Mi, above Zer Anpin, who is called heaven. When Malchut merits the name Elokim. Interpretation: Ma, Malchut, rises and is included in Bina, Elokim, after he created the light of Chasadim for a garment of honor to the light of Chokhmah in the name Mi, at which time they clothed each other, and the Malchut rose in the upper name, Elokim, which is the name of Bina, in which Malchut is included. For this reason, in the beginning, God created is the upper Elokim, Bina, not Malchut, since Ma is Malchut and was not built in Mi, Ele. Interpretation: since the lower world, Ma, extends the Mochin in the name Elokim in the upper world, there was an ability for heaven and their host to be built by Ma, since there are no offshoots without upper Mochin, which are Mochin Dechaya. This is what Rabbi Shimon said, and for this reason, since the lower world is Ma, and exists in the name Elokim for the upper world as well, the heaven and their host were created in Ma, in Malchut, and Ma had the strength to elicit these offshoots to the heavens and their host. This is why it is written, who have deployed your splendor above the heavens, to let us know that the Mochin extends from the name Elokim, de Yeshsut, by associating Me with Ele, where Mi is above the heaven, Zer Anpin. This is why it was said, above the heaven, where Malchut merits the name Elokim, meaning that the Hod, Mochin, above the heaven, above Zer Anpin, is Yeshsut, in which the name Elokim rises. And he is Me, who created Ele, these. However, in heaven itself, Zer Anpin, there is no Me there, only Ma. Once the level of Chokhmah extended because of the point that returned and came out of the thought, a zivug devak was done again to extend the light of Chasadim. The light of Chokhmah clothed in the light of Chasadim, and then Mi illuminated in Ele. It was said that after the light of Chasadim created the light of Chokhmah, they clothed in one another, and the Malchut rose in the upper name Elokim, and the light of Chokhmah clothed in the light of Chasadim. Hence, the Mochin reached from Me to Ele,
אלו באלו,
the letters conjoined with one another, and Malchut merited the upper name Elokim,
בשם העליון,
in the upper name
שמיים,
above the heaven, from Yeshut,
שבהם,
in whom there is me,
אבל לא בשמיים,
but not in heaven,
אבל לא בשמיים, שהוא מה?
who is Ma.
מה? מלכות,
It was said Ma, Malchut,
אלה,
and it was not built in me, Ele,
בינה,
since me is Bina, and since Tzimtzum Aleph,
שום
there was no Tzimtzum
כי הצמצום היה שם,
here at all, because the Tzimtzum there was on the middle point, Malchut,
שלא
which was restricted to not receive light in it,
בזיווג
and she was established in a zivug de haka'ah,
או חוזר,
to raise or choser.
אבל ט' ראשונות היו נקיות,
However, the first 9 were clean of any tzimtzum and were worthy of receiving the light of chokhmah.
אלא רק
But in tzimtzum bet,
כדי
to mitigate the malchut in midat harachamim, quality of mercy,
לאבא,
malchut rises to Abba.
נתקן
Abba is established in her as male and female, and Malchut received the place of Bina.
מלכות, עלתה לי,
And the point, Malchut, rose to being a thought, Bina. Since then, Bina too was restricted and was erected with a masach to avoid
שלא לקבל,
receiving the light of Chokhmah within her,
כדי לקבל,
to receive the zivug de haka'ah,
ולהעלות,
and to raise or choser.
הרי שהבינה ממקורה,
Thus, at its source, Bina is fit to receive Chokhmah without any tzimtzum,
בתוכה
and she received the tzimtzum and masach within her only to mitigate the malchut.
ולפיכך, על ידי העלאה,
Therefore, by raising man from the lower ones,
אור
a
חדש,
new light was extended from Ab Sag De'ak,
בחזרה את
which lowers the points back from the place of Bina to her place, to Malchut,
היה בצמצום א',
as it was in Tzimtzum Aleph.
ממחשבה.
And the point comes out of the thought.
נטהרת הבינה,
By that,
כל צמצום,
the Bina is purified from any Tzimtzum
ומקבלת
and receives the light of Chokhmah once more.
שקומת החוכמה
And once the level of Chokhmah clothes in Chasadim,
מי באלה,
Mi illuminates in Ele,
שם אלוקים.
and the name Elokim appears.
כל הבניין הזה של שם אלוקים,
And yet, this whole structure of the name Elokim is completely impossible in Ma,
היא קצה השמיים למטה,
since Ma is the end of the heaven below, the Malchut herself,
צמצום ממקורה,
on which there was the Tzimtzum at her source in Tzimtzum Aleph too,
לקבל בתוכה,
and she is unfit to receive any illumination of Chokhmah within her.
מה?
This is why it was said Ma,
נבנה
Malchut,
מאלה,
and not built in Mi Ele,
שייך
since the whole construction of the name Elokim
על ידי
relates only to me
מתוך
through return and exit from the thought, and not in Ma.
Item 17. But when the letters Ele extend from above, from Bina, below to Malchut, since the mother lends her clothes to her daughter and adorns her with her decorations, then the name Elokim extends from Bina, the mother, to Malchut, the daughter, and she adorns her with her decorations when any male appears before her. At that time, it is written about her, before the Master, the Lord. This is so because then Malchut is called Master, in masculine form. It is written about it, behold the ark of the covenant of the Lord of all the earth. But the text names the Malchut, who is called Ark of the Covenant, by the name Lord of all the earth, a masculine name. It is so because she received the kelim, the vessels, called clothes, and the mochin, which are called ornaments, from the mother, Bina. Since then the He comes out of Ma, Yod, enters in her stead, and Malchut is called Mi, like Bina. At that time, she is adorned in male clothes, clothes of Bina, opposite the whole of Israel. Explanation. Once he has made a point at Rosh of Arichanpin, and it rose to being a thought, since the Chokhmah was erected in her as a kind of male and female, meaning that then he formed all the images in her. This means that all the levels of the 5 Partzufim of Atzilut were formed in her in a way that there is no more than Keter Chokhmah of each level in Arichanpin and Abba and Ima and Zon. Also, he carved all the engravings in her, by whose force the 3 Sfirot, Bina, Zeranpin, and Malchut, parted from each level to the degree below her. Since Bina, Zeranpin, and Malchut of Arichanpin fell into Abba and Ima, and Bina, Zeranpin, and Malchut of Abba and Ima fell to Zon, and Bina, Zeranpin, and Malchut fell to Bia. And these 2 Sfirot, Keter Chokhmah, remained in the degree. They are called Mi. And the 3 Sfirot that parted from each degree are called the 3 letters Ele. It was said that when these letters Ele were drawn from above, from Bina, down to Malchut, when the point rose to being a thought, being that then the 3 letters Ele parted from Abba and Ima and fell to the degree below them, Zon. Then it is considered that Ele of Abba and Ima, which are in Zon, extended from above to below and clothed inside the Zon. Since Ele of Abba, who is Israel Saba, extended to Zeranpin, and Ele of Ima, who is Tvuna, extended to Nukva. Ima, mother, lends her clothes to her daughter and adorns her with her decorations. Upon the arrival of Mochin of Gadlut, a carving of one hidden image was extended, the Holy of Holies, a deep structure that comes out of the thought, meaning when the point returned and came out of the thought to her place, to Malchut, that by that the 3 Kelim, Bina and Zon, were brought back to the degree, and the 3 lights of Kechab, called Holy of Holies, were extended. You should know that when the Kelim, Bina and Zon, were brought back from the goof of Rosh, were brought back from the goof to Rosh of Arichanpin, Abba and Ima, which clothed them, were drawn along with them, and they too rose to Rosh of Arichanpin, where they received those mochin of Holy of Holies at the Rosh of Arichanpin. It is so because the rule is that the upper one that descends to the lower one becomes like him, and the lower one that rises to the upper one becomes like him. Thus, in the state of Katnut, when Bina and Zon parted from the Rosh of Arichanpin and fell to his goof, when they clothe Abba and Ima from the Peh down. Bina and Zon of Arichanpin became actual Abba and Ima. For this reason, in the state of Gadlut, when Bina and Zon of Arichanpin returned to the degree of his Rosh, here they took the Abba and Ima along with them, for they have already become one degree at the time of Katnut. Thus, even in Gadlut, now that Abba and Ima rose with them to Rosh of Arichanpin, they became equal to him, receiving the same mochin in Rosh of Arichanpin, which are called Holy of Holies. And in precisely the same way, Zon rose to Abba and Ima. Since once Abba and Ima received the mochin in the Rosh of Arichanpin, the point came out of the thought in them as well to the place of Malchut, by which their Bina and Zon were brought back to their degree of Abba and Ima. And when the Kelim, Bina and Zon, rose once more to Abba and Ima, they took the Zon that clothed them along with them. And Zon too rise to Abba and Ima, receiving the mochin of the Holy of Holies that are there. It was said, mother lends her clothes to her daughter and adorns her with her decorations. In other words, since the three letters Ele of Ima extended to the Nukva in the state of Katnut, it is considered that a mother lends her clothes to her daughter. Since thus the three Kelim, Bina and Zon, which are Ele, parted from Ima and fell into the Nukva. Thus, they became actual Nukva, because the upper that descends to the lower one becomes like him. It is considered that Ima lent her Kelim of Ele to the daughter, the Nukva, since now the Nukva is using them. And yet, it also means that she adorns her in her decorations. In other words, at the time of Gadlut, the three Kelim, Ele, Bina, and Zon of Ima return to Ima. Then the Nukva rises to Ima along with them, and the Nukva receives the mochin of the Holy of Holies that are in Ima, since the lower one that rises to the upper one becomes like him. It follows that now, since Ima lends her clothes, Ele, to the daughter at the time of Katnut, she adorns her with her decorations, with mochin, at the time of Gadlut. Thus she adorns with the decorations of Ima. And when does she properly adorn her with her decorations? There are two kinds of decorations from Ima to the Nukva, which are the mochin of Gar. One, from the lower Ima, Tvuna, who stands from Chazeh of Arichanpin and below. Two, from upper Ima, who stands from Chazeh of Arichanpin and above. And when the Nukva rises to Tvuna, and Tvuna adorns her with her decorations, it is considered that these adornments are still not as they should be, because then the Nukva is still poised for a question, like the Tvuna prior to raising man. Hence, they are not as they should be. Rather, when the Nukva rises to the place of upper Ima, from Chazeh of Arichanpin and above, and Upper Ima adorns the Nukva with her decorations, then it is considered that her decorations are as it should be. It was written, when any male appears before her. At that time, it is written about her, before the Master, the Lord. This is so because then Malchut is called Master, in masculine form. When the Nukva rises to Tvuna and receives the Mufin from her, the decorations are still not as they should be, since she is still posed for a question, meaning that she still needs to raise man from the lower ones to be completely corrected. Then it is considered that the males in Israel receive from Zeir Anpin, who rose to Israel Saba. But when the Nukva rises to Upper Ima, she is completed entirely and is no longer poised for a question to receive man. At that time, she is considered a male, and the males in Israel receive from her. It was said, when any male appears before her, when all the males in Israel appear before her and receive from her, this is because then the Malchut is called Lord. She is not called Adni, a female, but Adon, Lord, male, since she is not poised for a question. As the issue of raising man does not apply to her anymore, this is why she is considered a male. It is written, behold the ark of the covenant of the Lord of all the earth. The ark is called the Nukva, since the Yesod of Zeir Anpin, who is called covenant, entered her. Thus, the text calls the Nukva by the name Lord of all the earth, a male. It is so because then the Hey comes out of the Ma, the Hey comes out of the Ma, Yod enters in her stead, and Malchut is called Mi, like Bina. The Hey of Ma exits her because the Hey of Ma indicates that she is poised for a question. What did you know? Thus, the Hey of Ma indicates that she is poised for a question. And this Hey of Ma comes out of her, and Yod enters instead of the Hey, and it is called Mi, like Ima. Then she is built in the name Elokim, like Ima.
Item 18. Israel extend to the other letters Ele from above, from Bina, to this place, to the Malchut, who is now called Mi, like the Bina. As it is written, these things I remember, and I pour out my soul within me. For I used to go along with the throng and lead them in procession to the house of God, with the voice of joy and thanksgiving, a multitude keeping festival. These, Ele, things I remember, means, here I mention these letters, the letters Ele, with my mouth, and I shed tears in the desire of my soul to draw the letters Ele from Bina. Then I will lead them in procession from above, from Bina, to the house of God, Malchut, so that Malchut will be called God, like the Bina, Elokim. And with what shall I lead them? With the voice of joy and thanksgiving, a multitude keeping festival. Rabbi Elazar said, my silence built the temple above, Bina, and the temple below, Malchut.
ובוודאי, כמו שאומרים,
Certainly, as they say, a word is a rock.
בשניים.
Silence is two.
מילה בסלע,
A word is a rock, which I said
עליו.
and commented on it.
שתיקה בשניים,
Silence is two
השתיקה ששתקתי,
is a silence that I kept,
ששווה פי שניים.
which equals twice as much.
נבראו ונבנו.
Since the two worlds, Binah and Malchut, were created together.
כי אם לא עמדתי,
This is so because had I not stood still from speaking, I would not have attained the unity of these two worlds. Explanation.
אחר שיוצאת אות ה'
Once the letter Hey departs from the Ma
אל המם,
and the Yod enters the Mem and it is called Me,
ישראל,
Israel
עליית מן,
extend for her by raising man of other letters, Ele, to this place, Me.
והנוקבה עולה
The
בשם
Nukva
אלוקים.
merits the name Elokim.
כי אלה דעליון,
This is because Ele of the upper one fall to the lower one at the time of Katnut.
ועל כן הם נמשכו.
וככה.
לשלטון בעת
Hence they're drawn to the lower one at the time of Gadlut.
שהבינה
This is so because when Binah and Tiferet and Malchut of the upper one, the letters Ele,
לראש
return to the Rosh of the upper one, they take the lower one along with them.
והתחתון קונה
Then the lower one acquires the letters Ele
שבהם
and the Mochin in them
מחמת היותו
because it is together with them at the Rosh of the upper one.
התחתון העולה אל
Since the lower one that rises to the upper one becomes like him.
והאותיות האחרות
It is said, Israel extend to the other letters, Ele, from above
אל מקום זה.
to this place. As it is written,
אזכרה.
these things I remember.
אותיות אלו
Extending these letters
העלאת מן.
is a raising of man.
ישראל מעלים
When
מן.
Israel raise man
להמשיך המוחין דגדלות
in order to
על ידי
extend
המשכת אותיות
or
אלה
to draw the Mochin of Gadlut by drawing the letters Ele of upper Ima to the Nukva.
כתוב, אלה
And
אזכרה.
it is written, these things I remember, to extend
לכן
them.
הנני מזכיר
This is why I mention the letters Ele with my mouth,
שופך דמעות
and I shed tears in the desire of my soul,
תפילה בשערי
the
דמעות
prayer at the gate of tears,
חוזרות ריקם.
which is never returned empty.
ואז, אחר שהועלה המן,
Once the man has been raised, I will lead them in procession from above,
מלמעלה, מאבא
extend to the letters Ele from above, from Abba and Ima,
עד הנוקבה,
through the house of God, Elokim, through Nukva, who is called the house of God.
אותיות אלה,
After the extension of these letters, Ele, she herself is called Elokim,
ועל כן
God.
נאמר,
And this is why it was said that Malchut will be called Elokim,
בינה,
like Binah,
כמו אמא.
like Ima.
ואמר, מילה
said,
בסלע,
A word is a rock,
שניים.
silence is two.
כי מאמר דרבי אלעזר,
It is so because the words of Rabbi Elazar raised the Nukva to the Tvuna,
מחזה דאריכה,
below the Chazeh of Arichanpin,
שאז עוד נקרא,
at which time
בשאלה,
she is still poised for a question
סלע.
and is called a
על
rock.
כן אמר,
This is why it was said, a word is a rock.
אבל במה ששתק
However,
אלעזר,
Rabbi Elazar's silence,
מקום לרבי
giving room for Rabbi Shimon
המוחין דחיה,
to disclose the Mochin of Chaya
שהיא על ידי עליית
by the ascent of Nukva to Upper Ima,
נבנו בית
by
עולמות
that,
ביחד.
two worlds were built
כי עולם
together.
התחתון,
Since the lower world,
נעשית
Nukva,
אחד
became one
העליון,
with the upper world.
שאמר,
It was said, the silence I kept
שווה
is worth twice as much,
כי נבראו ונבנו,
because two worlds were created and built together.
כי הנוקבה
Since the Nukva rose to Ima and became a male, like the upper Ima. Item 19.
מכאן והלאה שלמות הפסוק.
Rabbi Shimon said, Henceforth, the wholeness of the text as it is written, the one who leads forth their host by number. There are 2 degrees, ma and mi, and each of them needs to be registered, meaning mentioned. The upper one is mi, and the lower one is ma. The upper degree registers and says the one who leads forth their host by number, where the hey of the one who leads forth implies to the one that is known and whom there are none others like her, me. Similarly, the one who brings forth bread out of the earth, the of the one who brings forth implies to the one which is known, the lower degree, ma. And it is all one. Both are at the same degree, malchut. But the upper one is mi of malchut, and the lower one is ma of malchut. The one who leads forth their host by number, since the number 600,000 are the stars that stand together, eliciting hosts by their kinds, and they have no number. Explanation. After the text implies to us in lift your eyes on high and see who, me, created these, ele, to observe the structure of the nukva in the name Elokim, which she draws from the upper Abba Ve'ima, by which upper Ima adorns her with her decorations. It fills and completes that explanation in the rest of the text. The one who leads forth their host by number. He calls them all by name. Because of the greatness of his might and the strength of his power, not one of them is missing. It was said that there are 2 degrees, and each of them must be registered, mentioned in the. That is, the 2 degrees, mi and ma, must be mentioned in the nukva. The mochin of one, the mochin of Gar that she receives through her ascent and clothing of the upper world, when the nukva becomes like the upper world itself. It is called mi. Since the hey of ma exits and the yod enters in her stead. The nukva is called mi, too, in the upper world, since she adorns herself with the male vessel. 2, however, at the same time, her former degree, which is ma, is not removed from her. Rather, ma, too, should be in her as before. The degree of mi is necessary to draw the wholeness and the holy of holies to the consequences, the offshoots. But begetting sons and multiplication depend only on the name ma. Therefore, if any of those degrees is missing in the nukva, she will be unable to beget. It was said that the upper degree registers and says, the one who leads forth their host by number, which is the degree of mi, which the nukva inherits from the upper world. It says about it, the one who leads forth their host by number, since the of the one who leads forth implies to the complete mochin that she receives from the upper Abba Ve'ima, which are the adornments in the male vessel, when the hey exits and the yod enters. It was said, the one who brings forth. The of the one who brings forth implies to that one which is known in whom there is none like her, which is the ultimate height of the Mochin that applied to the Nukva during the 6,000 years. It was said, one who brings forth bread. This is the lower, the bottom degree, Ma, and it is all one. The of the one who brings forth bread implies to the Mochin of Gar as well, which is known, but they are a Mochin of Yeshut when the Nukva receives from them and is known by them the degree of Ma. This is so because that degree must also be registered in the Nukva, and it is all one, meaning that both the Mi and Ma are included in the Nukva together as one partzuf, one above and one below.
We need not ask about that which the Zohar says, that wherever the is written, it is from the lower world. Malchut, that it was revealed more, while here it says that it is from the upper world, since here too it refers to the revealed world, the Nukva of Zeranpin. And it calls it upper one because of the degree of Mi of the Nukva, which she receives only when she rises and clothes the upper world, upper Ima. And because of it, it calls her upper one, and calls to the degree of Ma of the lower world, lower one. It was said elsewhere that all the things that are from the upper, hidden world, Binah, the Hay is hidden from there. This refers to when the revealed world does not rise and clothe the upper world, at which time the upper world is hidden and she does not shine to the lower ones. Hence, he does not write it with the, for it is hidden. It was said that the number of stars that stand together is 600,000. They elicit hosts by their kinds, and they have no number. A number is the complete wholeness. A number indicates complete illumination of wholeness, and the incomplete illumination is considered having no number, or that he has no number to indicate that they are devoid of wholeness, which is called a number. You should know that these mochin of upper Abba ve'ima, which Zeranpin gives to the Nukva, is the heavens are telling of the glory of God. This is so because the heaven is Zeranpin, the glory of God is the Nukva of Zeranpin, and telling are the abundance of mochin of upper Abba ve'ima. These mochin are regarded as 600,000, because the degrees of Nukva are regarded as units. Those of Zeranpin are considered tens. Those of Yeshut are hundreds. Those of Upper Abba ve'ima as thousands. And those of Arichanpin as tens of thousands. Also, there are two discernments in Upper Abba ve'ima. One, themselves, which are regarded as thousands. Two, the mochin of Chokhmah, that they receive from Rosh of Arichanpin, at which time they are considered tens of thousands like him, though only as vak of Arichanpin, since they clothe from the peh of Arichanpin and below. For this reason, in that relation, they are only vak of Arichanpin, which is tens of thousands, and vak are 60, hence 60 tens of thousands, 600,000. For this reason, when the Nukva rises and clothes Upper Abba ve'ima, she receives a whole number. which is 600,000. 60 means vak, since then it is still lacking the Rosh of Arich Anpin. And 10,000 indicates the degrees of Arich Anpin which illuminate into Abba Ve'ima within his vak, which clothed in Abba Ve'ima. Hence, the Nukva has the number 600,000. It was said the number 600,000 are the stars that stand together, eliciting hosts by their kinds, and they have no number. It has been explained that 2 degrees, Mi and Ma, are registered in the Nukva. 1, Mi in Nukva, are the upper Abba Ve'ima, which clothe in the Nukva. By that, she is considered as the upper world, and in that respect, she then has the number 600,000. 2 Ma in the Nukva are Yeshut, which clothe in the Nukva as in poised for the question. Ma, what? In that respect, they are the lower world. These 2 above-mentioned degrees, Mi and Ma, become one partzuf in her. Upper Abba Ve'ima clothed from her chazeh and above, and Yeshut clothes from her chazeh and below. Thus, they are one partzuf in her. Therefore, those 2 degrees are discerned in the offshoots of the Nukva too. This is so because with respect to the upper world, Mi in her is the one who leads forth their hosts by number in the number 600,000. And with respect to the lower world, Ma in her, the offshoots are regarded as having no number. It was said, eliciting hosts by their kinds, and they have no number. This means that she produces the various kinds of offshoots without a number, meaning that they do not have those mochin of number from Abba Ve'ima, but only from Yeshut, who are without a number. Thus, her offshoots are incomplete because they are devoid of a number. To that he says, the number 600,000 are the stars that stand together, eliciting hosts. This means that those 2 degrees in her, with a number and without a number, are in her together, connected in her in a single degree. Hence, they are also in her offshoots. And they are 2 degrees together, where on the one hand, her offshoots are considered to be of the number 600,000, and on the other hand, they are without a number. And since it is so, the one without a number is regarded as complete additions only and not any deficiency. The reason for it is that blessing and multiplication by seed are completely dependent upon the lower world, Ma, which is regarded as having no number. This is the blessing of the seed which is brought in the words, "Now look toward the heavens and count the stars, if you can count them." And he said to him, "So shall be your seed." The blessing of the seed which is brought in the words, "Now look toward the heavens and count the stars if you can count them." And he said to him, "So shall be your seed." Thus the blessing of the seed comes only without a number from the name Ma. Therefore, after all the wholeness of the mochin of a number that was obtained from the upper Abba Ve'ima Mi, she has an addition to the blessing from Ma without a number. For they have no number, and she too has blessing, and both are included in the souls and in the offshoots.
Item 20. He calls them all, those 600,000, all their hosts who have no number, by name. What is calls them all by name? He does not call them by their names. For if this were so, it should have said, calls them all by their name. However, when this degree does not merit the name Elokim, but is called Me, she does not bear and does not elicit what is hidden in her by their kinds, although they are all hidden in her. In other words, although the letters Ele have already risen, they are still lacking the garment of honor of Chasadim. So then, they are hidden and do not merit the name Elokim. When He created the letters Ele, and they merited His name, they clothed in the garment of honor of Chasadim, at which time Ele conjoin with Me, and He is called Elokim. Then, by the force of this name, He elicited them in whole. And it is written, He calls them all by name. He calls them by His name, eliciting each and every kind to exist in whole. Then it is written, the one who leads forth their host by number. He calls them all by name, by the whole name, Elokim. It is written, see, I have called by name Bezalel, the son of Uri, the son of Hur, of the tribe of Judah. In other words, I mention my name so that Bezalel will exist in full existence. Explanation. The great wholeness of the Mochin, the name Elokim, is on her souls and offshoots in both her degrees together, on the degree of 10,000 in her, and on the degree of all their host, who have no number. On both of them there is the name. As it is written, He calls them all by name. And when it is said, Me does not bear, it is because He created the letters Ele, at which time Ele conjoined with Me, and it is called Elokim. Then, by the power of this name, He elicited them in whole, since the blessing of the seed is completely dependent upon the name Ma, who have no number. The Mochin of number are illumination of Chokhmah, the complete name, and all her Bchinot, discernments, are in complete wholeness. And the Mochin without number, that come precisely from the name Ma, are the Mochin of Chasadim. And the illumination of Chokhmah is not received without a garment of honor of Chasadim. Prior to that, even though the letters Ele rose to Me, it still did not merit the name Elokim. This is the meaning of who, Me, created Ele. That once He created light of Chasadim for a garment of honor for the light of Chokhmah in the name Me, They clothed one another, and Malchut merited the upper name Elokim. It was said that Me does not bear or elicit those who are hidden in her by their kinds, even though they were all hidden in her. Even though the point has already come out of the thoughts to her place, to Malchut, and there was carving of one hidden image, the Holy of Holies, since Bina and Zon of the Kelim and Ga of lights returned to her, still they are all hidden in her. Also, Ele remain deep and hidden in the name Elokim, because they cannot receive illumination of Chokhmah without Chasadim. However, he created Ele after he also mated on the Masach of Ma, the lower world, eliciting the level of Mochin of Chasadim on it, which are called without a number, and giving it to Ele. Thus, he created Ele, placing the clothing of Chasadim in them, which is called created, and then she merits a name and is called Elokim. This is so because now that they have obtained the level of Chasadim, they can receive illumination of Chokhmah, which are the Mochin of the number 600,000. And then the letters conjoin and Malchut merits the upper name Elokim. Then, through this name, he brought them out in whole. For this reason, that wholeness of the name, which is the clothing of Chokhmah in Chasadim, is on the souls and offshoots that came out of the name Elokim as well. It was written, he calls them all by name, meaning that the name is named after the offshoots in that name of his. He called them and elicited each and every kind so it would exist in whole. In this name, he elicited the offshoots, both in the kind of 600,000, as well as in the kind in which there is no calculation. So they would exist in wholeness of the name. So they would clothe each other as they are clothed in the name. It is written, "See, I have called by name." It brings evidence that the words calling by name indicate existence and wholeness. 21. Because of the greatness of his might and the strength of his power, not one of them is missing. What is because of the greatness of his might? It is the head of the degrees, when all the desires rise in him and transcend in him in a hidden way. And the might of his strength is the upper world, Me, which rose in the name Elokim. Not one of them missing from those 600,000 that he elicited by name, by that name. And because not one of them was missing, and not one of the number 600,000 was missing, wherever Israel died and were punished for their sins, they were counted later, and not one of the 600,000 was missing, so that all will be one in one form, above and below. And as not one of the number 600,000 was missing above, not one of that number was absent below. Explanation. Because of the greatness of his might implies Keter of upper Abba Ve'ema, the head of the degrees of those Mochin, Bina of Arichanpin, which became Keter to Abba Ve'ema, where all the desires rise and from whom all the degrees receive. For this reason, they rise in it in a hidden way, since he is unknown Avir, air, meaning that the Yud does not come out of his Avir, air, as it is written, for he desires mercy. This is why he is in utter wholeness, and this is why he is called pure Avir, pure air. Although the level of Chasadim, called Avir, comes out on the lower world, Ma, she is still in complete wholeness because that light extends from Ga of Bina of Arichanpin, the head of all the degrees of Atzilut, Abba Ve'ema, Yesut, and Zon. Hence, the level of Chasadim in it is regarded as pure air, as well as in Ga of Bina of Arichanpin. It was written, and the strength of his power. This is the upper world, me in Nukva, from which the number 600,000 was drawn. This is so because she closed the upper world, who is upper Abba Ve'ema, which is why it was said, not one of them is missing, of those 600,000, which he elicited by that name, since from there she obtains the mochin of the number 600,000. It was said that as not one was absent from the number 600,000 above, not one was absent from that number below. Because the Nukva clothed upper Abba Ve'ema, Ima, mother, lent her clothes to her daughter and adorned her with decorations. By that, she became completely like upper Abba Ve'ema. And as the mochin of Abba Ve'ema are whole in the number 600,000, not one of them is missing, the Nukva is whole in that number, not one of them is missing.